Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything. Channel likes try anything, so you don't have to. As you can see from the screen behind me, today I'm going to be featuring another watch from the Casio collection, with this one being the CASIO A-220 with a module number of 1922. Now this is a Casio which is was part of the CASIO Futurist range, and it was a range of watches that were in the late 90s. I mean, there's this one, there is a few other types of watches that are within the Futurist range which you can find on the likes of eBay and stuff, and that's where I got this watch from, as it was an eBay purchase. So you will notice in the video that there's going to be scratches and stuff like that, and the main reason I do buy off eBay is because of the fact that you do get to see how these watches are worn over time when you do buy pre-used watches. Now the other thing I will do, I'll look around this watch, I'll talk about the design, the features of this watch, and also I'm going to pop this watch on my wrist and say what it's like to wear. Now when I say pop it on my wrist, I'm going to leave it a little loose, or a little looser than I normally do, and that's for the pure reason I don't want to be pulling out links and damaging the watch, because I've done it on the CASIO A-220 that I have featured in videos. I think it was towards the end of last year where I did manage to damage the link setup, so I don't want to do it on this watch because it is a nice Casio vintage watch. So I'll just mention that. I thought I'd mention it at the start of the video just so you get an idea. So what I'll do, I'll base my thoughts on that, but with all that out of the way, let's take a closer look at the CASIO A-220 that we've got featured here. So first of all, let's discover if this watch is for you and your wrist by talking about the CASIO A-220's sizes that we've got featured here. The case from the left of the watch to the right of the watch, you are looking at about 33mm, and if you add the 4 pushes or the 2 pushes either side at their extremes, you are looking at 36mm. Lug to lug, or the top of the case to the bottom, you are looking at 47mm, and a depth of this watch, or the thickness of this watch, you are looking at around 11mm from the top there to the stainless steel case back underneath. So it's not a big watch in any respect really, and the beauty of this watch is that it's oblong in shape, but the oblong is just more towards the top, or the extreme of the oblong is more towards the top and the bottom of this watch as opposed to side, so making it, I would say, a watch that should really fit a lot of wrists without inhibiting hand movement. In a lug width, just turning the watch around slowly, you are looking at about 18mm from there to there. So as we're talking about the lug to lug, we might as well mention what's connected to it. So what you can see here is a metallic strap, and this one being made up of stainless steel, and it is what is a lightly brushed stainless steel. Now as you can see here, I mean, the links are really nice, and it is a little bit rattly. I don't know if you can hear that, just a little bit, but you got to remember this watch is around 24, coming up to what would be 25 years old, so I'm sure it's allowed to have a few rattles. Now as you can see, with it being worn as well, it does pick up, or has picked up, some scratches along the way, or some wear scars, or battle scars as I like to call them. And I'm also just going about the actual width of where it flares out here, you are looking at 22mm, and where it tapers down to the clasp, you are looking at 18mm. So the strap is not bad at all. I mean, it's quite a nice strap, and in comparison to say some of the straps I've looked at, or the bracelets I've looked at on what would be the CASIO AE-1200WH, I've got to say I do find this a better looking strap than what was on that watch. But otherwise I would say it's quite a nice heavy feeling strap, and goes really well with the overall aesthetic of the watch. Now moving just to the back, I might as well talk about the clasp as well. You've got the clasp just going on here, and also what you've got is an area, it doesn't have any deployers, but what you've got is an area for up to 8 levels of micro adjustment, which is really nice on this watch. And I have got it set to the shortest version of it, because even though I have mentioned that it is loose on my wrist, I'm just trying not to take out any links because I don't want to ruin this watch in any way. But it does have 8 levels of micro adjustment here, and just to take off the strap, it's just easily done like that. So as you can see, it's quite a nice affair, and you can see that it's got polished stainless steel here. So, and also the logo, which is emblazoned on the clasp as well. So it's a nice strap overall. Now just turning back around to the back of this watch, what you can see, it has got a stainless steel back to it. If my camera will just focus, there you are. And obviously you've got the logo emblazoned on there, just emblazoned on there, and also you've got the stainless steel back. It's water resistant, which I will say that this watch is only water resistant, and it does have the module number which I've mentioned, 1922, as well as the model number. But yeah, again, as I've mentioned, this watch is only marked as water resistant, as you can see here, so there's no real depth or level of water resistance to this watch. Now, as we've got the watch featured on the front, we might as well talk about some of the materials to make up this case. So as you can see here, this is a metallic effect paint on resin case, and it does pick up some scratches, and as you can see, the resin is poking through quite nicely there. On the protrusions either side, you can see it's got a what would be a chrome effect paint as well, again prone to scratches, prone to wear, like all kind of metallic paint effects. And to the left and to the right, you've got 4 very nice handy plastic pushers, so you got, and they're quite long as well, so it makes them quite accessible. Now, carrying on with the actual front of the watch, we might as well talk about what is the acrylic glass that you can see here, or acrylic crystal as it's known. Now, this crystal is prone to scratches, and if I just maneuver the watch so you can see within the light, you can see the scratches are definitely on the crystal there. And these all crystal or all acrylic crystal watches will pick up scratches from time to time. Also featured on the front, I might as well talk about the front of what's going on here. You've got the Casio decals as usual, not too bad, and I do find that they do go with the overall aesthetic of this watch that you can see here. So even though they're not very shouty, but they are there, but again they do blend into the whole look of this watch. And also you have a nice little handy light button here. Now if I press it, I'll just move it over to the left just so you can see what it looks like in darkness and semi-darkness. It does work really well. I mean, the size of the digits that you can see on the LCD display work well with the whole watch, and it is still readable in darkness and semi-darkness, and it does have what's known as Casio's afterglow, or an illumination delay that goes on for about 1.5 seconds in duration. So yeah, it's very good indeed, and it is a nice kind of greeny blue, which is what you get with electroluminescence, and I do find that it does work well with this watch. Now, might as well just carry on talking about the LCD digital display. As you can see, it is a negative displayed watch. Now, I do tend to err away from negative displayed watches on the channel, but when I do see a watch like this where I feel that the negative display does work really well with the overall ethos or aesthetic of this watch, I just think it just adds to the overall appearance really. And as I've mentioned, the LCD display has some very nice large digits, quite tall digits compared to some of the Casios I've featured, and they are quite thick as well. So again, just at a glance, if I move the watch away, trying to keep it away from the light in the studio, it is still fairly legible. And also the information on the watch is very handy as well. So you've got the day of the week, you've got the month within the year, and you've got the date within the month. And as well as just mentioning time, this watch will feature 12 hours and 24 hours as well, but it doesn't have daylight saving times. At the bottom as well, what you'll notice, if I just quickly go through the modes, you'll notice that you do get a little icon towards the bottom explaining what mode you are in. So that's timer, that is stopwatch, that is alarm, and that is what is known as dual time. And if I go back to the main timekeeping screen, you'll see that it has disappeared. So it's quite handy if you want to know what mode you're in, or if you want to just take a quick glance at what mode you're in. And if you don't see them, obviously you know you're in timekeeping mode. Now, additional to that, if you do see a little icon down there, that means you have got the vibration alarm activated. Now, the vibration alarm or the activation of the vibration alarm, this watch will vibrate, if you can imagine like your mobile phone, or like if you've got a smartwatch, it does the same like that. Now, it's handy in that with a vibration alarm that you can have the watch vibrating as opposed to what would be a audible signal. So for example, it's handy if you are in the gym, where it will work with the countdown timer. It'll vibrate if you set it to vibrate, as well as the alarm as well. It'll vibrate on an activation of the alarm you set, as well as the hourly signal. Now, I tested that the other day and it did work really well. It did alert you to the fact that on your arm that you did hit a new hour, as it were. So it was very handy. And also, if you don't want the watch to alert other people of alarms or anything, that vibration alarm does come in really well. So it's a great little feature on this watch. Now, as well as that function, this watch does feature a whole host of other functions available to this watch. Now, as I mentioned, you've got the vibration function, which is very, very handy on this watch. But this watch also features a countdown timer. So if I just move it over to the next mode, as you can see, highlighted by TR. Now, the countdown timer it's great that you've got the local time still featured at the top. So a very handy little feature. But this countdown timer will allow you to count down from 24 hours. It'll allow you to set a timer to repeat itself, which is known as auto repeat. Also, it has a progress indicator. Now, I couldn't work out for the life of me what that was. And I was looking through the instructions and anything I can find information regarding this 1999 derived watch, and I can't find it. So if anyone knows what that means in the comments, then please illuminate me. Please pop it in the comments below what you think that might be, because I haven't got a clue. And also, as I mentioned, the vibration alarm can be activated when you reach 0 on this watch. The other feature that this watch has got, and I'll just set it off, it also has a stopwatch, and it allows you to count up to what would be an elapsed time of 24 hours. It also has a split time feature, as well as first and second place times, and that's something I will mention in a tutorial that I've got coming soon. It also has an auto start feature, which means it will do a 5-second countdown before the stopwatch starts. And plus all that, as I've mentioned earlier in the video, it has what's known as a target time setting, where you can set up a target elapsed time and the alarm will sound when you reach it, or you can have the watch vibrate instead. It's got a single daily alarm, which is very handy. Plus it also has that's it activated, an hourly signal which you can set, and you can set both of them as well and turn them both off as well. And that's accompanied by what would be the vibrating alarm as well. The other thing to mention about this watch is the dual time feature that I forgot to mention towards the end of the video, and I've got to say it is handy if you do work with other people around the world, as well as loved ones and business associates. So it's a good little feature to have on this watch. Right, here it is on my 6.5-inch wrist, and I've got to say it does wear really well. I mean, it is a little loose, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to kind of hide that fact from you, but that's only because I didn't want to remove a link or anything. But if I was to remove one of the links and adjust the micro adjustments there, then I would imagine that this watch would be quite a comfortable watch to wear. And it is comfortable, even though it is a little loose on the wrist. I've got to say, I've been wearing it for a little while, and I do quite enjoy wearing it, even if it is a little loose. And I don't like watches that are loose, or metal braceleted watches as a whole, but in this instance I don't mind it. So what's my overall impressions of this watch? I really do like the look of it. I think I mean, as you can see here, I do think it's a great looking watch. It's something that just stands out a little, while each element of the watch, this bracelet strap, the case design and the LCD display, I think they all complement each other really well. And if you are looking for something that's a little bit, well, what is considered as retro because it is from 1999 or 98, it does have that futuristic look about it, but what people considered being a futuristic look 25 years ago, and has a lot of functions. I mean, there's so much to this watch, and including that vibration feature, which again is just a fantastic little feature. If you don't want anyone else to be alerted of any alarms or countdowns or anything like that going off on this watch, it's just something that buzzes on your arm, and it does it really well. I've got to say, it's a great watch. My only reservation, as usual, it's a metal strap, and I did toy with the idea of getting something like a leather strap or a silicone strap or even a resin strap, but my only thought is I do think it will take away from the overall aesthetic of this watch, so I've left it on its metal strap for this video. But otherwise, if you are in the market for something like which is a little bit different, not your usual iconic Casios like the F91W or anything like that, and it is quite thin, it's not a big watch by any stretch of the imagination. The only measurement that you get there, which is quite large, is at the top and the bottom of the watch, all lug to lug, but it does fit on the wrist really well, and that's a 6.5-inch wrist that I've got here. I've got to say, consider the A-220 from the likes of eBay or Vinted or wherever you can get your watch from, because I don't think I think it'll be a great watch to add to your collection, if anything. And if you do like a metal strap, then I think this watch will be ideal. I mean, if you are a dab hand with a bit of spray paint and masking and stuff like that, then you might be able to kind of recondition an old watch that is being sold on eBay. And if you can, then obviously you'll just only add to the overall appeal of this watch. In terms of the display, I don't normally go for negative display watches, as I've probably mentioned in the video, but I do think in this aspect, I think it does work really well with the watch. And with the LCD digits being quite big and quite thick, I do think you can still read the time off this watch quite well. You can get a positive version of this watch and you will be able to read the time off that better, but I do think it just takes it a little bit away from the overall look and feel of the CASIO A-220 Futurist watch. But overall, I've got to say, I really do like the look of this watch. I can see why some people do rave about these watches. They are really nice to look at, and they've got so much to them. So thumbs up from me. If you are in the market for something like this, then please look on the likes of eBay or anything like that. You will find some examples on there, but just be aware that you will probably find them with a little bit of damage to them, and obviously paint fading away and stuff like that. But if that doesn't bother you, then I think you've got a great watch to wear for hopefully for the next 25 years, knowing how Casio watches wear. So I hope this video was of some use to you, and if it was, then please give it a thumbs up. It always helps the channel. If you want to see more videos from the We Try Anything channel, click on the subscription button below. And thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.